Welcome, everyone. I see the faces pouring into our Zoom session. This is the 20th Ask Me Anything session of the National Court Reporters Foundation. My name is Meredith Bond. I serve as chair-elect of the National Court Reporters Foundation, and most especially, I get to be the chair of the Ask Me Anything Task Force. This platform is to provide information to mentors on a variety of topics. The Ask Me Anything series has done topics on Ask Me Anything about how to graduate, about fiscal responsibility, about the subsets of court reporting, what's it like to be a captioner. But tonight, we're going to talk about a really important topic, questions about how can I be a mentor? How does the mentor process work? How does the program work? How do we connect students with much needed mentors? And when we don't have enough volunteers, what can we do to cover that gap? So great news. You don't have to listen to me talk all night long because I have a fabulous panel of people that have volunteered to help explain what mentoring is all about to you. And so part of our Ask Me Anything series will also be advertising it for social media. We want it to continue. We want to be asked to continue doing these sessions. And so part of that will be taking a photo. We have people in attendance tonight from the Ask Me Anything Task Force and the Foundation Board of Trustees. I know that Sandy Nayrup is here, and Sandy will actually be in charge of our photo tonight. So if you're interested, you don't have to. You can put your camera on, even if you want it to be just for the photo part and then turn it off. But I'm going to start with the photo now, just so we don't lose track of the hour and forget to take it. So Sandy, whenever you're ready.
Okay, everybody ready? I see a camera coming. Okay, great. Everybody ready? Smiles, big smiles. Okay, I took 2 of them, so hopefully we're good.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I really appreciate that. Taking care of that for me. For some reason I can't talk and chew gum sometimes. So just a little bit of Zoom etiquette. I would ask that you stay on mute so that we have good audio for everyone in our audience. If something comes up tonight that you would like more information about, someone started to answer a question, you thought of something later, we are available to answer your questions after our hour tonight. So I will ask our panelists if you can put in the chat box a work email, a work phone number that you're willing to be contacted at after our session tonight. So please feel free to reach out to us if something comes up or you want to ask more questions later on. It's, we're getting started providing this information in the hour, but it doesn't end at the hour. Please reach out if you have more. I'm going to introduce our panelists next. And actually, I'm going to do it the better way. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So we have with us tonight Amy first, and I will have each panelist say who they are, where they are, what they do, if they hold any certifications. And Amy, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm Amy First. I live in Orlando, Florida. I started out as a freelancer. I did CART and captioning for a decade, and now I'm an official in federal court for the last 15 years. And I'm also currently mentoring 2 new graduates. So thanks for joining us.
Amy also serves on the Foundation's Board of Trustees. Very lucky to get to work with her this year. Next, NCRA President Cindy Isaacson.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Cindy Isaacson. I am an RPR, and I've been reporting for 37 years, and I mentor students. I can't tell you how many, so many, whether they want to be mentored or not. So I think it's incredibly important as we go along. I keep up with students. I try to reach out to them as it's just when I think about them, just to check in, because I just think it's so important to keep that relationship going, not only when they're students, but as they become new professionals and as they go into the world of court reporting and captioning. So it's good to have you guys here with us tonight.
Thank you, Cindy. So I will also say that on our panel is Chris DeGrazio, and he's having a slight audibility issue this evening. So Chris is from Florida. He's a freelancer, I believe holds the RPR, and he will be a resource for us tonight, but we'll give his voice as much of a break as we can do. So next on our panel, we have from NCRA headquarters, Cynthia Ducar.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Ducar. I'm the Professional Development Program Manager here at NCRA, and I am in charge of the virtual mentoring program. I also work with schools and students. I'm in charge of the Learning Center, do the live webinars, and I assist with conference with sessions and speakers.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Erminia, would you go next and tell us about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Erminia Oviedo. I'm a court reporter in San Antonio, Texas. I've been mentoring, I like how Cindy said it, mentor students whether they like it or not. I love that. I've been doing mentoring for about 10 years now. I used to do in live mentoring, have little meetings, little meetups, and now basically everything's in Zoom. So, but I am also an official, and I am Texas certified and California certified. Look forward to talking to all y'all tonight.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call on Vanessa Johns.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Johns. I am a court reporting student in Louisville, Kentucky. I have an NCRA mentor through the virtual mentoring program who has been super, super beneficial to me, and several other reporters who I consider unofficial mentors, such as Amy and Chris on this call. I've worked with the NCRA Student Teacher Committee and currently with the Membership Marketing and Outreach Committee, and I love talking to students and about steno students, so I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know the first question on my mind for you is, what speed are you currently at?
Oh, you know that question is our favorite to get. I'm currently working towards my 200s.
That's wonderful. Don't be shy about that. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it because it provides us a lot of context for where you are in the journey. Very, very, very helpful. So next, but certainly not least, Joshua Edwards, will you share a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Joshua Edwards from New York City. I'm a full-time CART captioner. I do freelance depositions on the side. My business partner and I, her name is Wendy, we co-own a company called Steno Captions LLC, and I just recently became engaged to Wendy's cousin. So my business partner is now going to be my family. We're going to get married next July, so we're now starting the wedding planning process. But we're not here to talk about personal issues, mentoring. I am also very big in Toastmasters, which is public speaking, and I've been a member of that group for about 7 years now. I mentor new members to learn one of the most difficult and fear-inducing skills, which is public speaking. And there's a lot of overlap between how you get better at public speaking and how you work with somebody to control their nerves to become a better writer, stenographer, and court reporter. So I'm huge in the mentoring, and we all have a skill that we can share with somebody that can help them, not to sound trite, but to shine a little bit brighter or to gain a little more confidence. You have something that you can offer me. I have something that I can offer you. And that's what mentoring is all about at the end of the day. So glad to be here.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing. If you don't know who I am an official court reporter. I work in Rochester, New York. I've been a reporter for 35 years. I did 10 years in freelance and the last 25 at the courthouse. Most of my mentoring takes place at the intersection between A to Z and getting going with school. I hold the library of machines at my courthouse, and so participants, a lot from the career presentations that we do at the courthouse, they hear about court reporting, they sign up for A to Z, they come sit with me for an hour, and I teach them how to set up the machine, how to sit at the machine, what they're going to do in A to Z. They sign up and take that online and then continue to reach out to me afterwards as they pick their school, start their programs, get all their questions answered to get going in college. I do have several students I've mentored through the program. I think my favorite person I ever mentored was 911 operator on the midnight shift. She said that there would be significant lulls of time where there weren't a lot of calls in the middle of the night, and that's when she would practice between 911 calls. It sounds absolutely bizarre, and she works a really difficult job, so she wanted to be a court reporter in the worst way to get out of the 911 center. You'll meet everyone, right? So part of our presentation this evening will be a little bit of a PowerPoint that we're going to share with you. But before we put up our PowerPoint, I did want to just start with the question, what does it mean to be a mentor? What are we really talking about? So Amy, do you want to start with that question? What does it mean to be a mentor?
I think for me, it boils down to when I started court reporting, I thought it was very difficult. And I just want to help people to kind of get through things in an easier way. So that's what it really means to me, just giving back and making it easier.
Erminia, what do you think it means to be a mentor?
I agree. Back in the olden days when we only had brick and mortar schools, we had no internet. We had our schoolmates to lean on for schooling, but when we got to the high speed and we're trying to get exposure into networking and the courthouse or freelance, it was a lot harder trying to find some guidance. And so that's why I'm very passionate about mentoring, because I remember just the little challenges that someone can run upon if they're trying to make that transition from high school student to beginning to network, trying to get out there in the professional field. And so that's why I'm a lot more passionate about it, because of my little struggles that I went through. And I think if we could just if I could help somebody not have to go through that, I think it's all worth it.
Wonderful. Cindy, I'm going to tweak the question just a little bit. I'm assuming people in our audience are people that are thinking they want to be a mentor, considering volunteering to be a mentor. So somebody that's never done this before, can you explain what it means to be a mentor?
Well, I think it's ultimately you're sharing every bit of knowledge that you have, as to be a mentor, we have all of this knowledge, and to be able to share that with people who don't know anything. And they ask us things about what should I do? Should I do freelance or do officialship? And we have that information, and to be able to pass that along to people who don't know. And when I was in school, I didn't have a mentor. I never had a mentor, and that is such a great blessing for me, is to pass on the information that I have after 37 years of knowledge. It truly is a blessing. And I think for anybody who wants to be a mentor, just think about all the knowledge that you have in every element of being a reporter, that you get to pass it along. And so it truly is a gift that you can give.
I like that answer. Thank you for sharing. And a big panel like this, you're going to have a variety of answers. And I mentioned this when we did the Ask Me Anything about how do I graduate. For some of these questions, there's not one magic answer that is the key, because if there was one magic answer, we would have emailed it to you, 6 years ago and just use this and, follow 1, 2, 3, and you'd be all set. People are different. People have different personalities, different learning styles. People have different presentation styles. So the point of having a panel of people to offer you different perspectives is also because what one tip might be right for you may not be right for someone else. So we want to hit that variety of answers. So Amy, are you ready to share your fabulous PowerPoint?
Yes. So we put together a PowerPoint from a couple past mentoring seminars just to highlight some points, just to give you some extra information in case you ever want to refer back to something. I'm not going to read it to you, but there's just some good information here. Jill, do you want to pull that up?
Oh, do you want me to share it then? I can
Please.
do that. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. 1 second. Let me find it. And I will share it 1 second. Here we go.
You want me to do it, Jill?
No, I have it. 1 second. I just need to open it and then press share. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting there.
This is our first time using a PowerPoint in an Ask Me Anything, I believe.
Okay.
We got fancy on you.
It's great. Let me get the share now. Where is the share screen?
Green button.
Yeah, I see it. I'm pressing it. Multiple advanced share,
Mhm.
advanced sharing. I'm doing that and it's not letting me. Advanced, start all screens, new one person sharing. My share is not happening.
All right, hold on.
1 second. Oh, here it is. Tell me if you see this. Now, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you all see this now?
Yes.
Go
You
ahead.
just might want to make it a little bigger if you could.
If you put it in
If that's not too
presentation
full of an
mode,
ask.
Is that good? Is that
Yes.
bigger? Okay, good.
I love this quote by Steven Spielberg. I think it really embraces mentoring. The delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. So this is kind of a mantra to start mentoring somebody. And then there's different forms of mentoring. I have it informal relationships of people. Two students I met at convention who just reached out because they knew me from convention and they had my contact info. Does somebody have a more formal mentoring relationship?
You mean among the panelists?
Correct. Sorry about that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I was very fortunate, if I may, quickly, to go through the mentoring program as well as a student high speed. And I did travel down to West Palm, which was about 45 minutes to an hour of where I was living at the time in Florida. And I interned at a courthouse, and it was a really good experience.
And then we have forms of mentoring, informal, informal. We have some information on where to find a mentor, some links that you can go to for the NCRA mentoring program. And I'll turn this over to Cynthia Ducar. She handles the mentoring program for NCRA.
yes, we have a very successful and popular mentoring program. Unfortunately, we have more need than we do mentors. I see a few names on here tonight who are current mentors with our program, and I just want you to know how much you are appreciated. But anybody who is willing or wants to become a mentor, you can find this link where they're going to share this PowerPoint after this event and in the chat. So you'll be able to click on that link, or you can always put mentoring in the search engine on the NCRA website to come up to this sheet. But our program matches students who currently are at 120 or above. We had to change our program because we had too many requests for the number of mentors that we had. So we're currently only doing 120 and above. You can ask to volunteer to mentor 1, 2, 3, 4, or more. And we try to match you either by geographical area, if that's not possible, by area of interest, such as freelance, CART, official, and then by software. Just that's our last thing to try to do, to at least have one area that is in common between the mentor and mentee. And our biggest need is in California and Texas because those are such specialty areas. If you are in those areas, or if you are licensed in those areas as well, that's a huge need that we have currently. And this is the link to our handbook. It gives you everything that you need to know, and also things that you don't have to do. So you're there to be a coach, you're there to be a friend, you're there to be a resource. You're not there to watch over someone as they're doing a test. You're not there to grade somebody's homework. You're there as like I said, coach, mentor, and friend. So if you have any questions, I put my email in the chat and cducar@ncra.org.
And the last slide showed the virtual mentor handbook. So there is actually something written that you can go through and read, and that might help you with, any questions you might have as well. The next slides are about mentees, and Vanessa, I'll have you go through these, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I put several of these slides together and worked with a couple other reporters to do that. A lot of this information comes from that mentor handbook and the resources that NCRA already has out there. So please do check that out. I think these slides are a good summary of that when you get access to them later. But so these are just some, big ticket items that mentees are looking for as court reporting students. Just access, I think, is the biggest one. I am an online student. I think most students are online in some capacity in 2025. And so just access to information coming from the source is super beneficial. This is, guidance in general and specific areas. We're looking at, a school steps and career development. I'm always looking towards the future. So my mentors kind of have been able to help me plan for what's next in a very broad sense, and in a much more specific sense as well. On the next slide, I think I've gone into some just more specifics on what this actually looks like. Like I mentioned, online students do a lot of their work independently. So mentors can kind of help pull the student out of that place and give real world access, real world examples, whether that's sitting in, looking at like transcript excerpts from their deposition earlier that day. We often have limited access with classmates. Not only are we in, on Zoom in our school programs, but we're also spread across the country in many senses. And times can be difficult for me to access my classmates when I need them because of time zones. As adult students, we're juggling families, careers, managing our homes, our finances. We're getting older. Mental health challenges, and all of this that kind of leads to burnout. And so mentees, your students are experiencing these challenges and others, and mentors can kind of see those students as real people and offer support where they can. On the next couple of slides, I pulled examples of what that looks like from my own experience and from some of my student friends. I think a lot of times we're talking about mentorship as software help or sitting in, interning in court, something big, right? But often mentorship to me is in the little things. So answering a silly question, it seems silly to you, but it's like so important to me. And when I don't have access to a teacher or class or something in the moment, to be able to call my mentor, text her real quick, and get a quick answer, I just it seems so silly, but it is so meaningful. Giving or offering business advice, contacts in your area, celebrating test wins. My mentor is on this call, Jan Marie. She is the best cheerleader, and I just have to call her out because I love her so much. And even when things are not so great in my school or in my personal life, she's always there encouraging me and cheering me on. So I really, really appreciate that. on the next slide, some other forms of support to a student could be going out to lunch, doing some live dictation. Obviously, shadowing or sitting in is super, super helpful. I've had court reporters sponsor conference attendance and pay for a book, or there was something else I can't had it. Anyway, financial support is super, super helpful, whether that's, you know, a little bit of spending money at a conference or something a little bit bigger. And we might touch on this a little bit later, but students have a lot of resources as far as speed building material, resources for written knowledge test prep and that kind of thing. Often what students need is just that personal connection, to talk to a real person who's working in the real world and can kind of bridge that gap for us of like, it a lot of times studying feels very hypothetical. So to kind of pull us back into the real world is super, super helpful. So that is some of the support that means the most.
Thank you, Vanessa. You touched on something that reminded me when I was a student that I went to a state convention, and there I met real live court reporters for the first time. So, you know, one of the things that I do as a mentor in a simple way sometimes is just to sponsor people, sponsor students at conventions, or I'll pay for your room. You know, just something like that can really help. Again, that personal connection is the most important for me. And Josh, is there something that strikes you on this slide?
I think that something that sometimes gets overlooked is that it's a very lonely profession, especially now that it's almost entirely remote, at least the training and a lot of the work too. I was thinking about when we were talking about, you know, going out to lunch. When I was a student, there was in New York City, it's no longer, it's now a bar, but there was a coffee shop called the Coffee Pot that I used to go to, and it was all standing tables, except there was one booth that was kind of in an enclosed corner with a round table, and it could seat about 6 people. And if we got there first thing in the morning when it opened, that corner was open, and I would have friends from court reporting school come, and we would all practice, and we would sometimes be there from when they opened at 7 in the morning until almost when they closed at night. And the friends would rotate in and out. And just having that sense of community, you know, I think we took it for granted when we were in a brick and mortar school that you could sit down in a lunchroom and, you know, commiserate over the test, and you had your paper notes and you could compare and you could say, oh, that's an interesting outline for whatever that phrase is. So the mentoring is really bridging that gap, because that's like a time that's in the past now, and we need to keep the connections as strong as we can. You never know who's suffering in silence, as they say. So this is really a valuable thing that we're doing to uplift people that might be going through some isolation.
That's a very good point. And the next slide talks about the benefits of mentoring. And it's the slide right before that, Jill. I'll just point out, for the NCRA mentoring program, you can earn CEUs for that, PDCs. So if you're willing to give your time. And then Vanessa, I'll let you talk about the benefits of being a mentee.
Yeah, well, hopefully I hit a couple of these earlier. But just like I said, having access to the court reporting world through my mentors has been really, really helpful for me. On a very practical level, learning about the roles of what each a court reporter, captioner, and cart provider can do. I have had in my mind a clear picture of where I'm going to go, but I've been able to kind of experience the other areas, which has been really helpful and kind of gives that more well-rounded feel. My mentors have helped me develop my professional network in meeting people and obviously being connected to the field and motivated to join as a professional someday, hopefully someday soon. And job shadowing and internship opportunities, learning best practices for how to act and how to be the reporter in the room through those internship opportunities. And even in sometimes I'm listening to a dictation and I have a question about what happened, why did they say that, why did they do that? My mentors can kind of give that historical background to how this field works and how it came to work the way it does today.
Great, thank you. Cindy and Armenia, could you comment on some of the etiquette of mentoring and how to establish a good mentor relationship?
Etiquette, well, like some of the slides were saying, you're there to be a mentor, not exactly a teacher, not exactly, you say you're not grading their papers, you're not reviewing their work, you're just there as guidance, as a sounding board. Like I've mentored quite a few, and
So personally, I think a student. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So like I've had mentees that, and I can relate because I had children, I had a lot of children, and they're like, I'm just trying to get through school. And I have, they'll have like 2 or 3 children and they're young, and, their family members don't understand, or they don't have the support system, and nobody understands that I'm failing these tests. And sometimes it's just as far as just being that sounding board for them so they can just, let it all out. And, for somebody who understands the struggle that they're going through, because it seems like nobody in their family does. And so, of course, I'm the sounding board, and then I'm just, there to listen, and then there to cheer them up. Like, you know what, but you can do it. Even though we have these challenges, you can do it. Let's figure out a way, time management. Let's figure out a way to maybe wake up a little bit early before the kids wake up. Or maybe when they go to nap time, then just try to do your practice and try to, help them in those type of avenues or challenges that they're having. So I had one that had 3 children that were under the age of 6. And so I said, well, let's treat it like a workout. Why don't you just wake up 1 hour earlier than when they wake up and do some practice then? And then when you have nap time, do some practice then. Then after the 9 o'clock bedtime, do some practice then. Just break it all up and it'll work. And actually, she ended up doing that. She ended up becoming a court reporter now. So yes, so being their biggest cheerleader, being a cheerleader for them, being a sounding board for them, just having some guidance. Like I said, some of the slides I saw are just like, how do I do this on Eclipse? How do I do this on that? Things like that. I mean, just little questions. And yeah, the students are very, very grateful that somebody was able to, actually answer their questions. And what I do a lot now is actually I try to, when I have high-speed students in their area, I try to, I always say, reach out to your local association, the city association, join that. You can find a lot more people in your network that can guide you with any questions or help you that are there. You can go sit with them. And I always encourage them to always join the NCRA. I always encourage them to join the state association, but also when they're in school, especially the local association. So
I think it's really important to set out expectations of the relationship, setting a time frame that you're going to, you're going to correspond, and that you expect that they're going to correspond back, that it's not a one-way street, that this is a relationship. So that, that there are expectations, that, you're a busy reporter and that they're a busy student, but that you do expect correspondence back. And so I think that you need to sit down and say, look, we need to sit down and have a conversation about this is how our mentorship mentee relationship is going to work. And I want to hear from you, and it takes both of us to make this thing work. I want to see you succeed. And I'm here for you every minute of the day, but I'm not going to, I I can't want want you to be a court reporter more than you do. So so sit down and set some time, set some parameters, and see how that, I think it's just important to have some expectations in that relationship.
That's
So
a really good point. Jill, if you want to go to the next slide of the dues. I'm
Amy,
sorry.
can I get in
Go ahead.
first just for a second? Cindy's talking about expectations. That's something that we've heard from so many mentors, that I donated my time, I volunteered, and then I got ghosted. You know, you set your expectation and then they still don't respond. So I just ask you to take a step back and look at the big picture. Cynthia said we have so many requests for mentors and not enough volunteers. So if your relationship does not work out with one pairing, please hop back in the pool and get paired with somebody else, because there's a lot of people waiting to be matched with mentors. And the other thing that I would say is, sometimes people don't have the same personalities, don't interact well, just like you just might not have a good match. And we had a submitted question from our audience. If I ask for a new mentor, will the old one know? Do any of us have to worry about, the match wasn't right for me, getting that information getting out there? Cynthia Ducar, can you answer how that works? Would the person know?
They would know, not the specifics, but I would need to let them know so they don't keep trying to reach out to that student. I would just say that their time working together has come to an end, and please let me know if you're interested in having another mentee. And I just leave it at that. I will say that mentee has to go in at the bottom of the list, not at the top, and they have to wait for the next available person. But yeah, we do have to let the mentor know, but I don't tell them why.
So it's generic and benign and not a
Right.
huge issue. So if any of you, being a mentee or a mentor, need to get rematched, go ahead and do that so you can get to good working relationship.
And I would say, along the lines of what Cindy said, if you're setting the expectations in the beginning, especially listening to what the student has to say. If the student is not a talk on the phone kind of person, and that's the only way you want to communicate, you're going to know right off this is not the match, and you're not going to invest your time into it, and we can rematch. But I think that's a really important part, is to find out how and how often you're going to meet, so that you're setting the expectations right away.
Outstanding.
If you could go to the don't slide, and I think Josh wanted to add something to this question as well.
Yeah, I just had what Cynthia was saying about setting expectations. I'm sorry, our dog is barking in the background. So there was a practice group run by Rich Jermosin, who's kind of famous in our field, called the 100-Day Practice Group, and you're supposed to post on Facebook to check in with whoever's part of that group that you are practicing every day. And he makes very clear that if you do not post, you will receive what's called a polite removal. And I was at the receiving end of the polite removal, and I was like, I have nothing but highest regard for Rich, but he made the expectation clear, and that is completely fair. And sometimes for personality conflicts or feeling ghosted or whatever, you need somebody else. Either the mentor doesn't feel that the student is rising to the level they expected, or the student thinks that the mentor isn't the right match. And it's not personal, it's business. We're trying to help each other, or the mentors are trying to help the students grow in their professional careers. And so you want to do what's best for each other, and nobody's going to have hurt feelings about it. You just be on your merry way, and you thank the person for the time that they gave you. That's all. Thank you.
And maybe this will come up later on, and part of our mentor ship that we, and like I said, that wasn't a thing back when I went to school. And so I'm so grateful that that really has become part of our association, part of our profession. But when a mentor, either they provide money for you to go to conference, or they pay for your membership to your state, and a lot of times that's free, but whatever, when they provide financial support, be sure and thank them. And so often, being thankful is difficult for somebody to say, thanks for helping me out. that they just take it as an assumption that that's just part of the deal. So I just want to encourage everybody to make that, make that part of your repertoire of saying thank you. Thank you for making me a part of your choices in life. When you say, I choose to make, pay this bill and that bill and, pay for my child's ballet, and I'm going to choose to pay for this mentee's membership or being able to go to convention. That really is a sacrifice that each and every one of us make because we want to see you succeed and we think it's important for you to be able to go to these things. So I just think that that's important so that we feel that we're doing something that you appreciate.
Chris, would you like to address the next slides?
Let me see. I'm looking at
Or I
the.
can.
Let me see. I'll try. Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Vanessa. And if I forget anything, you can pop in. Thanks.
Go ahead and move that forward, Jill, if you could, please.
Okay. So I'm speaking as these slides. This is from the perspective of the co-chair of the Membership Marketing and Outreach Committee. And I guess that's important because that's why I was invited here. I felt like, and I was excited to represent that committee and our efforts, our interest in mentoring. The first three, actually, yeah, Vanessa, will you please? I'm sounding ridiculous.
Yeah, no problem. So like Chris said, the Membership Marketing and Outreach Committee has been and will continue to be talking about this topic of mentors. And Chris and I have talked a lot about this in the past and have some ideas for what's coming in the future. But the Membership Marketing and Outreach Committee would really like to encourage you to define your strengths and availability for mentorship and what that could be, what that looks like for you, kind of reviewing all of this information that we've shared with you today. A mentor doesn't have to be, I'm speaking as a mentee in this case, but a mentor doesn't have to be everything. A lot of my mentors and people I consider mentors kind of offer little bits and pieces, and I've hit from each of them motivation, procedural, and regional help, software help. I don't ask the reporter who is on a different software for software help. I might ask her for some more procedural questions. So identifying where you feel you can most give back to a student is very helpful. And then your time commitment, whether that's to be a part-time, touch base every once in a while kind of mentor, more full-time and hands-on, sitting in court or in your office, or even on a more limited availability. I think a lot of you are familiar with Chris and some of the programs and giveaways he's run. I would consider those forms of mentorship. Some of those that the MMO committee have been involved in through student giveaways. There are some other resources that are coming in the future. Facebook group and for court reporting and captioning week. I guess the idea here is just to kind of redefine what is a mentor and how can you mentor a student formally and informally. There are so many opportunities, and if you have other ideas, the MMO committee would love to hear them.
And then one more thing, you did wonderful. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I'm so grateful for you. I understand and respect that the pre-existing mentorship program may not break it down into those first three areas, and that's totally fine. I just wanted to highlight that as far as, what do mentors have that they could most, maybe if they don't feel like they can mentor 24/7 or they can't do the full thing, what can they feel like they could bring, and then maybe bring that to the mentorship program, or at least if it's not through the mentorship program, if they know a student or they meet a student in their state association, they can maybe then feel like that could be how they contribute. So I just wanted to offer that respectfully. Thank you.
And this last slide is just a preview of coming soon. And Meredith, I'll hand it back over to you.
Outstanding. So much wonderful information. Thank you all. Thank you for putting the PowerPoint together. I don't want there to be any misconception, about, am I required to give a student money? Am I required to sponsor them to go to anything? That is a personal decision, and you can volunteer to be a mentor without sponsoring someone to go to something or gifting anything. I don't want anyone to think, well, I couldn't possibly take on another financial obligation and it would cost me too much money to be a mentor. We want your experience. We want your time. We want your willingness. If that's something you're in a position for, wonderful. It's great to have people show up to things. But if all you can do is sit and talk to someone, that is essential. That is needed. We need more people. So if anyone that you say to, I decided to be a mentor, I'm signing up for this program, and they say to you, well, I just can't afford that, please spread the message. You do not have to have money or distribute money to be a mentor. Didn't want that to go too far without anyone getting the idea that they couldn't afford. I do want to cover several more things, but I'm going to start with Cynthia Ducar, specifically for NCRA's mentorship program. How do people volunteer to be a mentor? I'm assuming it's something on our website where they sign up.
It is, and I can drop the link in here in just a second. The link to the handbook will also have it there. It's just a short form. It gives me your name, location, and how many people you are looking to work with and how many you may currently be working with if you're bringing some other students with you.
Thank you. So clearly, tonight, on behalf of the foundation and NCRA, we're encouraging volunteers and people to join the NCRA mentorship program. However, that's not going to be the only source of volunteers for connecting students with mentors. And so if ever you meet a student that's looking for a mentor and they've told you, I'm on NCRA's list, I haven't been able to get matched with anyone, please know that you can refer them to other resources. State Association, Joshua Edwards, the New York State Court Reporters Association has a program. You want to explain that just for a hot second?
Yes, very briefly. New York State, or the New York State Court Reporters Association, which proudly is the very first of such association in the country, which of course it was formed in 17 or 18, I'm getting the dates mixed up, but they were pen writers and now they are all stenographers. And we decided to make membership for students anywhere in the country free. As long as they were studying stenography, they can join the New York State Court Reporters Association, take advantage of our online webinars, attend our conferences, and get the discounted student rate. And the thinking behind that is that if we're helping a student in our field, regardless of where they are geographically, because the boundaries are arbitrary, and especially in the day and age of Zoom, there's all this confusion about, who can swear in a witness and in what state. The boundaries are kind of arbitrary anyway. So we're helping students in the field with the idea that they will then be successful, which helps the field, which helps us. And if they happen to one day move to New York or they already live in New York, then great. They will hopefully consider becoming a dues-paying member of the state association. And it's been very well received. We've been able to help a lot of students across the country.
Wonderful. And what are student dues? Do you know?
Student due, well, it's free. The membership is free.
The membership is free as well.
But I mean, like, for example, we have an upcoming event, the 15th gallery of the 15th anniversary of the Gallery of Shorthand at the Central Islip Federal Courthouse. And so students are able to RSVP at whatever, I don't know it off the top of my head, whatever the student discounted rate is.
Okay. So just slightly different than national program where our dues are $55, but the mentorship program is still free at the national level as well. There's just more resources out there for students. Erminia already mentioned local associations. So if any other, not any other avenues of people connections I wanted to mention. If someone tells you, I'm trying to get a mentor, I can't find a mentor, you personally have too many people on your plate and you want to refer them somewhere, their local school, their local freelance firm, their local courthouse, all of those places are sources of connections where you can hook students up with mentor volunteers. So perhaps you have a list of people that you're looking, that you could reach out to that might be able to take another student. You can always personal reference, but just didn't want people to, I guess I would panic. Oh my goodness, this person doesn't have a person. How could I possibly get them a person? So I wanted to make sure I mentioned those other avenues of places to reach out to. Erminia, you mentioned you are mentoring several students. What kind of time commitment are you donating to this?
Okay, well, I'm moved more now to standard coaching, but when I would do groups. It was me and another reporter, and we would actually have like meetups. We'd have meetups at somebody's house, and we would do it like, I don't know, every couple of months. And we just have meetups, or sometimes we would just meet up at a restaurant. We say, hey, let's all meet up here, and it'd be a group event. And so, yeah, we'd invite other court reporters if they wanted to join. And at one time we had like a group of like 7. It was the same 7 students, and they all became court reporters, all 7 of those. We're very proud of that group. And so that's how we started. We just started doing like a group mentoring, I guess. And we just started having meetups. We meet up at restaurants and meet up in houses, and we go from there. And we always, but we brought them into our local association, which was very important. So they were into the local association, and that's how we just that's how we mentored them as a group, actually, as a partnership.
Outstanding. That's a very creative way to approach the mentoring process and to introduce them to a group of reporters. I love that answer so very much. Panelists, I'm going to look for raised hands on the next one. Do you have other creative ways for use of your mentoring time? Anyone have a good answer? Joshua.
If you live close enough to them, invite them, if they're at the appropriate point in their school, to sit in on a job with you. So, for example, Jill mentioned that there's a young man who's into theater and lives in New York City, and I just happened to be captioning a play, 2 new short plays Monday night. So I invited him, and he's coming. He's going to watch the performance and see my captioning setup. There's no better way to learn the field than to watch the real world and to imagine yourself in it and to kind of see, a lot of the parts not related to the actual writing and keeping up with speed, but the cables and the screens and where do you sit and how do you get audio, all these kinds of things. It's really, I love giving people the backstage view.
Love it. Amy.
I love that because that's such a great way to motivate, the feeling that I could be sitting here someday. That always really struck a chord with me. In Florida, we arranged for a pizza party, and a bunch of reporters got together. And I don't know if you were going to talk about that, Chris, but some students came, and it was a great, great time. Sandy was there. So it was a really good time. Somebody saw it on Facebook. I believe Patty Nielsen did it in Tennessee, and somebody organized it in Florida, and a bunch of us showed up. So that was very fun. It's a good idea.
If I can just add to that real quick. Yeah, it was really cool. And the part that was, I think, most impactful and memorable, there was a new student. She was just signing up. She was getting her machine from Stacy Rakes. We kind of planned the location around her to make it easier for her to travel to. So we were all in Orlando. And the conversation kind of went towards what brought you into court reporting. And she said TikTok. And I said, okay, who? And she said Natalie Rubin, who is a new reporter in California. I said, I know Natalie. That's my friend. That's my girl. And so I FaceTimed Natalie. I didn't think she was going to answer, and she did. And the student got really nervous, understandably, but it was really exciting to connect and introduce that student with Natalie, who is the reason why she joined court reporting, and just make that small introduction. So it's not mentor specific, but I think it's all cumulative, and it was just a nice opportunity to make that bridge. So thanks.
Cindy.
It was kind of a fun thing at the Encouraging Court Reporting page. There was a girl who had posted that she had lost her job, and she was looking into court reporting. She had heard about it, and she was a musician, and she lived in Kansas. And so she said, I'd like to find out more about this. So I just reached out to her. She lives in Hutchinson, which is not too terribly far, 3 hours. So we talked, and it's just the fact that she was a musician. And I said, gave her the Discover Sino website. And I said, go onto that. I said, hey, we're having our convention. That was like last Sunday. I said, we're having our convention on Friday. Do you want to come? I said, remember, students get to come for free. And I said, I have a machine for you. So she drove from Hutchinson. One of our other reporters, she shared a room with her. so she came all the way down. She shared a room with a perfect stranger, got her hooked up with the machine. And she's into the A to Z program. So it's very exciting. And she cannot wait. She is very excited. The only bad part is that she said she's going to have to cut off her fingernails. So she had like long nails. She said, I guess these are going to have to go. I'm like, they might need to be cut down a little bit.
There you go. We are winding down with just 3 more minutes to go. We're going to share a link to the PowerPoint so that if you wanted to re-review some of those slides or see links, or if you want to email one of us after and we'll email you the PowerPoint. Okay, if you need the PowerPoint, just email me and we will send it to you in an email. I guess it's going to be an issue to load it into the chat. So a couple last things to cover. A major theme of tonight is thank you so much for showing up tonight and learning about being a mentor and what it takes and the different options and how the process might go. It'll be individualized for each person and what you do and what area you're from. But please take this message forth that we need more volunteers. So if somebody couldn't attend tonight, they can watch our Ask Me Anything on YouTube. It'll be posted in a few days, so that they could, you could just say, go watch it on YouTube and get all the information yourself, or you could tell them, do you live in California? Do you live in Texas? We have a huge need and a lot of students that are looking for mentors in those states specifically, but across the country. And it's not hard, and it's just talking about what you do every day. So thank you, audience, for being here and listening to the information, but most importantly, for sharing it. I wanted to thank our panelists tonight for giving of your time. And I always need to thank my committee that helps us put these topics and questions and events on. You can join us in the future. Next month will not be the last Tuesday. It's going to actually be Tuesday, November 18th. We're doing it a week early in the month because of Thanksgiving. And we're going to talk about what is it like to attend NCRA boot camp. Lots of people have heard about boot camp and the leadership training and what happens when you visit Congress and how does grassroots lobbying work. Anyone that's curious about NCRA boot camp, ask me anything about it next month. And then in January, the last Tuesday of the month, it falls on January 27th, and it's going to be about fiscal responsibility. We have a special speaker for that Ask Me Anything. So pencil that in on your calendar. Great, best practices for your businesses and how to run your finances. A great topic to get started in the new year. So if there's any last question, you can pop it in the chat. We have 1 last minute to go. I just would share my sincere thanks for your time this evening, and let me read the chat while I'm stop talking for 1 second. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for that message. Very sweet. Okay. Go tell your friends. Please bring us all the volunteers you can find. We would really, really, really appreciate it. Being a mentor is a really special experience. And it's time you won't regret volunteering. I look forward to seeing you all next month. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.